Hi, I'm Michelle Sterling for Friends of Science Society. 80 environmental, non-governmental organizations have issued an open letter to all the premiers and to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and opposition leader Pierre Poilievre. And they're making some demands here regarding the Jasper wildfire. They're claiming that big oil caused the fire in Jasper, and they present some evidence linked in their open letter. Well, I went through all their evidence and I refuted every one of them. We have an explainer video on our website if you want to see the full detail, but I can just give you the short gist now. So there are 4 pillars of their so-called evidence. One is a non-peer-reviewed paper that says that wildfires that were more intense and more prevalent in 2023 were caused by climate change. You know what? Not once in that paper is mentioned the word budworm infestation, mountain pine beetle infestation. In fact, the word pest is only mentioned once. And the main problems in Canada with these massive wildfires that we had in 2023 is not climate change. It's standing deadwood from these infestations of different kinds of beetles and bugs. So that's one. Then they also claim that the big 88 oil and cement manufacturers of the world are responsible for a change in vapor pressure deficit, which is kind of similar to relative humidity. It's not exactly the same. The U.S. Forestry Service calls it the hot, windy, dry index. Now, when things become extremely hot, windy, and dry, then the combustibility of all this standing deadwood goes up dramatically. But when you look at what happened in Jasper, for instance, in the wildfire, running up to July the 1st, that vapor pressure deficit was below the safe level. So it was fine. As soon as it hit July the 1st, skyrocketed. In fact, our wildfire consultant suggested that as of July the 1st, the park should have been closed and the tourists sent home. That's how high the risk was. So you can't tell me that big oil is not responsible for the safe ratio of VPD, but is responsible for everything after July the 1st. That's ridiculous. And in fact, when I did more research, what did I find? I found more research that showed that it's relevant to the sea surface temperatures, which is like related to the El Nino, La Nina cyclical behavior of the Pacific Ocean. And that's primarily driven by geothermal activity under the water. So we have a couple of very interesting papers and presentations by Professor Wis Yim on that topic if you want to have a look at it. Now, the other thing they suggest is that they refer to the Climate Atlas group of Canada. Now, Climate Atlas of Canada likes to use a scenario that is implausible. It's called the Representative Concentration Pathway, RCP 8.5. They claim that that's a business as usual scenario of how global warming will continue based on the various socio-economic factors and the addition of carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere. But it's implausible. It requires that we would burn more coal than exists on Earth, that we would have population that is 3 to 6 billion more by 2100 than even the UN estimates that we'll have. So, you know, they're already starting from a false premise on climate change, and then they go on to say that the fire intensity is from human-caused global warming. But they consulted with Professor Mike Flanagan, who said he's an expert in this forestry and wildfire situations. And he said that actually a lot of the fires are human-caused. And you know what? If you look at the numbers, a huge number of wildfires are caused by humans. Not always arson, of course, negligence, accidents, playing around with matches, fireworks. But if we could cut those, and we can because they're all preventable, then we'd have much less of these wildfires. And the last one that they use as their evidence is abacus data. and it's an opinion poll commissioned by Clean Energy Canada, an activist group. So there you have it. You have a whole bunch of activists trying to claim that these wildfires were caused by climate change when there's evidence showing that that's not the case. They were caused by standing deadwood and poor forestry management. So you would think that if these groups were actually concerned about the Jasper wildfire and the well-being of the people of Jasper and the people of Canada, they would be advocating for more water bombers, or more firefighters, or more equipment for firefighters, or a more stringent management of the forestry resources to weed out and cull all that deadwood, especially surrounding these critical communities and critical infrastructure, like the TMX pipeline. But no, they just want to put a stringent cap on emissions in the oil and gas world in Canada. They want to decimate that industry. And you know what else? It's really just a tar sands campaign disguised as a climate change plea for help. And they're just exploiting the tragedy of the Jasper wildfires. Now, these groups all have huge amounts of money. All of the big charities that are involved here, like Stand Earth and Eco-Justice, Greenpeace Canada, Ecoterre, Environmental Defense, David Suzuki Foundation, West Coast Environmental Law Association, etc., etc. They have very large sums of money in their revenues. And even Ecoterre gets 41% of their money from government. So here you have these tax-subsidized charities. Some of them are funded by government as well, trying to shut down the industries that bring revenue to Canada, that pay for healthcare, education, infrastructure, and so on. I can't see any net public benefit from this letter or from anything that these people are doing today. I think that somebody should inquire as to whether or not this is actually charitable activity, because I don't see any evidence of charity there. I don't see any of them saying, you know what, we're going to donate 10% of our money to the food bank in Jasper. We're going to donate 10% of our money to the rebuilding of Jasper. We're going to send a call out to our more than 300,000 followers and members to get it together, and when the time is right, to go to Jasper and actually physically help them rebuild. I don't see anything like that. Now that would be charitable work, but that's not what these guys are doing. They're just trying to shut down the oil and gas industry in Canada, and they're working for their foreign funders and against the interests of Canadian citizens. That's my point of view. For Friends of Science Society, I'm Michelle Sterling.